Hello and welcome in this new video about the defense mastery. Today's video we are going to take a look at this character, which is a Fire Knight, a Juggernaut, which is a combination of defense and earth mastery. Now we are going mainly to talk about defense, but maybe we'll see some other ability just to talk about it and explain better. So let's start as usual with the bottom row. In here, let's start with Concussive Blow. This is a passive ability that lets you inflict seconds of stuns on your enemies with a chance with your basic attacks and increase your overall stun duration inflicted. This is a fairly simple ability and does not more than that. But it is also quite a bad ability, in my opinion. You do not have very much stuns in this mastery. You have a mini stun, 1 second of stun from shield charge, and the ability itself. So this is quite bad. You have to find something other in other masteries or maybe on your gear to make this ability great, and even then it does not do damage or any kind of protection. In my opinion, it's just not good. You can maybe put one value point. For example, I have one right now with the +4 to all skills I already at 5. And it's just gonna be fine. Nothing more than that. While you are leveling at the level 1, level 2 character, you are never ever gonna pick this ability. It does not do damage or protection. You are attacking so slow, so the chance to proc this ability is almost 0. And overall it is a late game thing. Let's move on to Battle Awareness. This is one of the core abilities of the Defense Mastery. It has 2 augment skills, but the basic ability itself, it reserves some energy, quite a lot in fact for the Defense Mastery, which does not have much energy. You can see here the stats provided does not give any energy at all. So it does reserve 75 energy and it gives 234 defensive ability at maximum level and 58 armor. The defensive ability is very good to protect yourself against melee attackers, since defensive ability, what it does, you can see the ability in action here. I have plus 238 defensive ability. These stats, this defensive ability, gives you less chance to take critical hits against enemies in melee combat. And when you are taking critical hits, they are going to be less powerful. Having enough defensive ability gives you also chance to dodge attacks from melee attackers. But remember, this doesn't do anything against ranged enemies. Only melee enemies. For that we have the armor. The bonus armor it gives, 58. You can see in the combined armor I have 72. We'll see later, but this 72 armor is mostly given by battle awareness. You can see it does go away, the bonus armor. And this bonus armor that is given from the ability is the best kind of armor because it is added to all types of your gear. So it is added to the leg, the arm, the torso and the head. All get the plus 72 bonus. We see later because we get 72 instead of 58. We have in our gear some let's just show it now. We have a golden belt which does give plus 25% armor protection, so any armor I get is augmented. You can see now I have a 58 instead of 72. So that's it for this basic ability. Let's move on to its augments. Now its augments are focus. This ability gives plus shield block chance, and only that, reserving some more energy, which is again quite quite bad for this mastery, because if you start with this, you don't have almost any energy to reserve to use your other ability like Sputter or Rally. So be mindful of that. Now, shield block chance is quite simple, but also, in my opinion, quite powerful. But you need to have a nice shield. A great shield in combination with other abilities. Is not an ability that you want to take early on, but when you have in late game a very nice shield and also some other shield like abilities. For example, I have a really high level shield, Daimos, which itself provides even more plus 5% shield block chance. It already has 53%, plus the bonus given from the ability focus, I'm at 83%. So quite high chance to block. But you have to remember that shields do not block forever. Once they block, they go on a cooldown for some seconds. Some do for 2 seconds, some for 2.5, some for 3. It is a hidden stat that is not shown, and it really depends by the shield you get. You can't really know it, you just have to Google it, sadly. Most of shields have 2.5 seconds of cooldown, but yeah, it's just a hidden skill that you have to know. Once the shield goes on cooldown and the attack is blocked, even if you have a high percent chance to block another attack, it cannot proc, so it is basically useless. What you have to do is then reduce your shield block cooldown. For example, with this ability, let me show, which is quick recovery. We'll see it later, but it does give minus 81% shield recovery time. So the shield can proc very accurately by having a nice and high block chance, and the cooldown is very low, so it can proc often. So these abilities will go in combination quite well. But early on, as I said, they are not very good, because you need to have a very nice shield. Even if you proc it often, if the damage procced, the damage reduced by the shield, you can see 53% chance of block 736 damage. This number is quite high. But if you have a very low level shield, this number will be quite low, and even if you have a good amount of block chance and shield recovery time, you will not get very much value. So that's it for focus. Let's move on to Iron Will. This is one of the strongest abilities of Defense Mastery, in my opinion. And if you are thinking another thing, then you are quite wrong. This ability is insane. By reserving some more energy, when this battle awareness is active, you get all these amazing secondary stats. Secondary resistance: sleep, stun, reduced entrapment, reduced freeze, skill disruption protection, and reduced mind control duration for pets and traps, which is a resistance that is mostly given only by this ability in almost the entire game. It is a secondary ability, not quite that useful, this reduced mind control duration, but all the others are very good. Especially the stun resistance and the trap resistance. Sadly, of all this, there are two that it does not give, which is petrification resistance, but most importantly, slow resistance. Now, petrification is very niche, a very niche crowd control ability applied by enemies, so this ability is not giving this kind of protection is actually not that important. But sadly, the slow resistance, not getting slow resistance from the ability is quite bad. These three abilities, stuns, resistance, and slow, are, in my opinion, the three most common ways that enemies can inflict debuffs onto you, secondary debuffs. Now, this, let me show, this Iron Will ability does not give slow, and that's why one very good mastery combination with defense is with Dream. You can see here. Where is it? Yeah, we have a Templar here, which is a combination of, as I said, defense and Dream. It's quite good in my opinion. Overall, there are quite a lot of synergies, but one in particular that we are talking about right now is with Lucid Dream and one of its augment skill, which is Temporal Flux. This ability, you can see, gives total speed, chance of avoid projectiles, but in this case, the slow resistance is important. It does not give quite a lot of it, only 28%, but it is just enough to make this combination of masteries practically immune to all crowd control. You are stunned? Well, you are not. You are slowed? Well, you are not. You are trapped? Well, you are not. So, in any kind of dangerous situation, you can play your character, you are not debuffed, you are not debilitated in any way. You can run away if you are in danger. It's a very, very powerful ability, this Iron Will. And it does literally cost nothing. You can see augmenting the ability does give even more reduction, plus 80%, 90%, 100%, 110%. Now, this is quite a lot of resistances, but even by getting more than 80%, let's put one more point just for the sake of it. You can see I would have 90% stun resistance, but the resistances are capped. The maximum is 80%. So this very high amount of resistances that you might need at the maximum levels might be needed only if you go to Helos and some lag and you activate the shrines. Let's show it. Now in Helos there are some shrines that you can activate, the cursed shrines, and these shrines give you some curses that you can apply to yourself to gain some curses called Electrum. It is you can get some more loot, but that's not the focus. These are the curses, but by applying them to you, you not only reduce your main resistances. You can see I have a lot less resistances. In total, I think it's it's a minus 100% all resistances, except for the physical, which is a minus 50. But they also give minus 50% to all secondary resistances. So these resistances that can go more than 80% can be useful in this case, in this use. Or maybe if you are using some kind of equipment, like for example, let me duplicate, like this. There are some equipment in this game that give a lot of stuff, but in turn do reduce some of your resistances. So think about it if you need more than the maximum to compensate these kind of reductions. But in my opinion, it is best to have 80% at most of stun, slow, and trap resistance. Of course, slow is not given by the Iron Will ability. If you can get these 3 to the maximum, then don't level Iron Will anymore. At that point, it's just enough. So let's remove these abilities, let's cleanse ourselves, and move on to the next. Ah, I forgot. Iron Will is quite good against 2 particular enemies, which are Dragonians and Centaurs. Now, Dragonians are... let's show. Well, I'm legendary, actually I can't, because I have not unlocked these enemies. But they are the enemies that are in the Orient Act. In particular, the Blue Wizard Dragonians. They will stun you and they will kill you very very fast. So having a high stun duration will be quite good. But mainly Centaurs. Centaurs are encountered early on in the game. Sparta mostly, Megara, Delphi, Athens, mainly in Greece. And they can both trap you and stun you. So having these resistances very high is quite important to not get comboed. They can trap, put the banner down, and kill you very very fast if you don't have Iron Will. Remember that. Now let's move on to Butter. This is an ability, an active one. Finally, not an aura. Ah yes, this is an aura ability. So if you have any pets, they are also going to get this ability. So, for example, if I put a point here and I summon it, you can see he also does get battle awareness. Now let's disband this pet and let's return to Delphi. We were talking about Butter. This is an ability that hits with your shield. It does extra damage and multiplying damage plus 8% physical damage, while also reducing enemy attack speed for a great amount, 8 seconds. 8 seconds is quite a lot. Most abilities that reduce attack speed only do for 3 seconds or 5 seconds, and then you have to reapply the debuff. But 8 seconds is a very very large amount. And considering the ability only has 4 seconds recharge, you can permanently have this active on an enemy. That is, if he is not dead. So this ability, let's show it. But let's show it on an enemy, because you can see it clearly. Not this, there is too much happening. This is Butter. You can see though, there are 2 numbers, 2 white numbers. Ignore the orange ones. These 2 numbers is why Butter is a very nice ability. These 2 numbers are 2 attacks that you do. Butter does not attack only once, but it attacks with your weapon and with your shield. So the stronger the weapon and the stronger the shield, the stronger the ability is. Starting out, you are going to have a bad weapon and a bad shield, so this ability is not quite good. But since it scales with your weapon, and it is basically a normal attack with some extras, then it gets better over time. The longer you play, the better the weapon, the better the shield, the better the ability. So this is quite nice. You can just put 1 point later on, because the physical multiplication and the extra damage, it does not... yes, it is nice, but 15 points for this ability, they are quite a lot, and there are better things to put your points on. But it does have one augment skill, which is Rend Armor. This ability lets Butter hit multiple targets, as well as reducing their armor. You can hit a maximum of 3 targets with Butter now, having a Rend Armor. but they have to be quite near each other. You can see I only hit one. Now I hit two. Let's see again. If I hit here, the arc is very high. Okay, let's run away. Now this is butter. It does reduce armor, so all your physical attacks will be much stronger, especially in the early game, where reduced armor can be very high, because enemies do not have that much armor anyways, and reducing all of their armor can result in a lot of more damage inflicted. Whereas in the late game, enemies are going to have lots and lots of armor, so even at the maximum level, 276, will be just a portion of their total armor, and the damage inflicted by having more armor, by having less armor, sorry, on the enemy, will not be as much. So in the late game, even this ability, just 1 point for the extra targets, will be quite nice. Even more so on my character, because I already have some sources of reducing armor. You can see this Terracotta Guandao does 318 reduced armor, and I think reduced armor does not stack, so only the maximum amount is applied, which is this. So remember this fact about reduced armor. Let's move on to the last thing about the last row, the bottom row, which is armor handling. This is a fairly powerful ability, which reduces the strength requirements for armor and shields, while also increasing your armor absorption. You can see I do not have any strength requirements needed, because I have quite a lot of strength, but if I didn't, this would be quite nice to equip better items. But remember, the only thing that this does not reduce is the weapon. So in this case, having low strength can be still fine, because you can still equip your armor and your shield. But if you are needing a very high strength requirement for your weapon, then you are gonna need something else. For example, this does go very well with Rune Mastery, because you have Rune War the Feather, because it reduces the strength requirements for all weapons. So you have basically all gear reduced requirements. Now let's move on to the armor absorption part. So let me show you this. Now your character has a base armor absorption value of 66. What does it mean? It means that if this is your value armor, this is your armor value absorbed. So which means that this amount is the effective armor that you have, and that reduces damage, directly reduce the damage. Is a direct subtraction. This armor handling ability increases the armor absorption you have, but it is not an additive amount. You have a base amount of 66, and with the 24 amount given from the ability, you would think that you go to 90% of your armor value. But in fact it is not. It is a multiplicative amount of the 66%, so you get 24% of the 66, which is a total of 84. It is not 90%. These are small mistakes some people make, but it does matter, because in fact the ability gets worse than what you think. It is still very nice to better the armor that you have, but it is actually only 2/3 of what you would think otherwise. And that's it for this ability. But it is still quite nice. Having more armor is fairly powerful to reduce physical damage. Now let's go on to the second row. Let's start with this ability. We talked about that before. Quick recovery. It is a fairly high cooldown ability, 60% recharge, 60 seconds recharge. And by spending some mana for a small duration of time starting out, you can see at level 1 it only lasts 18 seconds. And what it does do, it reduces your shield recovery time so it can proc more often. It gives even more armor absorption, which we just talked about this. This is in fact still multiplicative, so it is less than 10%. It is only 2/3 of 10. And it does give you also some more shield block chance. So by having this at the maximum, you can see I have plus 25 from this, plus 25 from this, 50%, and another 53% from this. So while quick recovery is active, with Deimos I have more than 100% block chance, which is capped at 100, with a fairly low cooldown, because this does give minus 81% shield recovery time. So lots and lots of attacks are going to be blocked from my shield. It is going to be quite a lot of physical resistance, but this ability does need a lot of points to be great. And starting out, as we said before, the shield is not so great, the damage reduction is not so great. You will need also a lot of points, and if you put a lot in defense, you don't have a lot of damage. So these abilities are both late game options, but in late game they will shine. If you can get some cooldown reduction, you can have quick recovery almost 100% uptime. So you can see now it only has 3/4 of the times active. It is still quite a powerful ability. Now let's move on to Adrenaline. This is a passive ability with 2 augment skills, and what it does is it gives you a chance after being attacked to proc this ability, and for a small duration to gain health regeneration per second. This is a very inefficient ability in my opinion, just getting health per second, and then not even always when you get attacked, and it also has a small duration and a fairly high cooldown. So it is very bad starting out. For it to be good, you need to have all 3 abilities, the base, the first and the second augment, and all 3 need to be a high level. So you need a very high amount of points for this ability to shine. By having a resilience, you can reduce the base cooldown of Adrenaline, so it can proc more often. Sadly, it does not increase the chance of activating, but that's still fine. Even if it procs often, if it only gives health regeneration, then what's the point? You need defensive reaction. This ability gives you lots of bonuses in terms of damage, physical, bleeding, and total speed. They all 3 are great add-ons, but mostly the total speed and physical damage, since this mastery only does physical damage. I don't think there are any kind of bleeding damage dealt from this mastery. Yeah, there are no kinds of bleeding damage, so I don't know why there is this physical and bleeding multiplication and not just the physical. Well, that's about it for this ability, but remember that adrenaline is not an ability that you will need to skill in the early game. You need to dump a lot of points and you just don't have that much in the early game. It is still quite powerful later on, just for this defensive reaction. The maximum level it gives 27% total speed, which is amazing. Now we have the last two skills of the bottom row, which are Shield Smash and Rally. Let's talk about Shield Smash. This is a passive ability. You can see there are a lot of passives in this mastery. And what it does, it has a chance to be used on your normal attacks. And you can attack with both your weapon and shield to inflict more damage and reduce the defensive ability of your target. By upgrading the ability, only the damage scales and not the reduced defensive ability. But it also increases the chance to be used, so that's very nice. At maximum you have a 20% chance, which is very high. This is a very good ability because reducing the defensive ability of enemies increases the chance for them to take a critical hit from you. And since you mainly do physical attacks and physical damage, upgrading it with a critical hit will be massive, increase your damage. So this Shield Smash, very good ability, but since it can be procced only with your attacks, you will need a very high amount of attack speed for it to be used correctly. You can see I have 184, and Adrenaline is not active, and other abilities are not active. So if I activate this, we'll see later, and Adrenaline, I will go even more than 200% attack speed. It is needed for this ability to be good. All three disabilities are kind of the same, they are all three proc chances on attack, and all three will be kind of the same, having high attack speed, having a good weapon and a good shield. Now let's move on to Rally. This is an active ability that does this, and in an AoE area of effect around you, it does a heal, it gives a bonus armor for a duration, as well as health regeneration for the same duration. Now let me remove some points from this. You can see the basic duration is only 10 seconds. It's not a lot, considering it has 45 seconds recharge. Though it does only give you armor and health regeneration. There is a small synergy here, because giving Adrenaline health regeneration per second, then it can be amplified by the 150% health regeneration. And as we said before, a very nice combination for this mastery is a Templar build. So, where is it? Templar. It can be quite powerful with Trance of Convalescence, because it gives you even more health regeneration, base health regeneration per second. So even more health to be amplified with Rally. Now in the late game, this health regeneration won't be quite as powerful, because it's just not enough to keep up with the enemy's damage, but it's still a small synergy. The main focus of this ability is the insta heal. You can use this ability to heal yourself when you have your potion on cooldown. Now I have a nice shield, and it does give me a life leech retaliation, so if I lose it, enemies will deal a lot more damage to me, because I do not life leech health from them. So let's see it in action. Rally, and I healed for 2000 health. Sadly, it is Not noticeable because I have 12,000, so only healing for 2,300 is not that high compared to 12,000. But the ability scales really highly. You can see at the later levels you can get 6,700, and only because I don't have Deimos, because it gives +1 to all skills, so I can get even more. You can see with the last level given from Deimos, I can go up to 7,440 health restored. It's a very powerful ability to use as a panic button or just to spam. Let's see later why. Ah, yes, also, this armor, this bonus armor, it is the bonus kind. We'll see later when it is off cooldown. But it is the best kind of armor because, as we said before, it is applied in full to all equipment. Let's see. You can see here. Now let's talk about the augment skills, which are Inspiration and Defiance. Inspiration, it increases the duration of the rally buff for the armor, the health regeneration, and it increases the amount of buffs. It also does now give energy regeneration per second and a total speed buff, which sadly does not increase with the levels. But the duration does, so it is fine anyway. Now defense mastery does not have any health, any energy help, so having this ability is quite nice. The health regeneration is a very nice bonus, but the total speed is indeed amazing. You can attack faster, cast faster, move faster, and increasing the duration, having this duration up to 26 seconds, can be quite nice. If you have a lot of cooldown reduction, you can have this ability permanently active, and with quick recovery as well, the amount of buffs permanently active will be quite nice. Just a lot of defense, and even more if you have the Defiance augment skill. This ability increases the energy cost, and it also applies another buff while rally is active, which is elemental resistance, which is fire, cold and lightning. All three of these abilities will be increased by this amount. At the maximum level it will be about 60%, 65% elemental resistance, which is really a lot of resistances, considering it is times 3 types of resistances. And it also does give some damage reflected back to enemies. So this ability can be sometimes useful with some builds, some reflective builds. And in fact it is this mastery combination which is one of the best, just because you have stone form. Because to reflect damage you do not have to take damage. So by having a stone form which gives you basically damage immunity, even if you do not take damage, enemies still take the reflected damage back. So quite a powerful ability, but if you are not thinking of doing damage reflect, you can just ignore this part. The elemental resistance is just powerful enough. Now this character does need these elemental resistances quite a lot. You can see my cold is 9 and my lightning is minus 23. So this ability would be quite powerful for me. Sadly, I do not have many points to spend. But if I did, I would spend some of these points here, because this is fairly powerful. Now, one thing I forgot to say about the rally ability. I did say the health regeneration was not quite good in the late game, but there are some exceptions where it is particularly powerful. Now if you are equipping some items like this. For example, Onager, it does do 25 health regeneration per second. If you are using double weapon with the Warfare Mastery, you can get 2 of them to get plus 44 health regeneration, and with the plus 150% of this, it will be quite high amount of health regeneration. Otherwise, you can also get Persephone's Caress. It does give plus 50 health regeneration, a massive amount. There is no weapon in the game that gives more than this. And it is a cold and frost weapon, so you can use it if you have a combination of, for example, defense and storm mastery. Will be quite strong. But otherwise, if you don't have this massive amount of health regeneration, then this rally ability, yeah, the health regeneration is nice, but it is not the main focus. And that's about it for rally. Let's move on to the third row. The only ability here that we haven't seen is Shield Charge. It is an ability which is fairly similar to Butter, except it can be used from the range. Let me show. And you will run toward an enemy with great speed and attack him. Like this. Shield Charge that does have a longer cooldown than Butter, but it also does more damage. Does this charge. A lot of lag, actually. So let me do it again. And it also provides some seconds of stun to your enemies. 1 second of stun. It can be increased with a concussive blow, but just having 50% and not having this maxed out is enough. 1.5 seconds cooldown, seconds of stun is enough. It does also provide some extra damage, but the base ability itself only hits one target. If there are multiple targets at the end of the charge, then to hit them all you will need Disruption. It does allow the ability to hit multiple targets, and it also adds a 3.5 seconds of skill disruption, so if an enemy would cast an ability, then he will not. Augmenting the ability will augment the amount of enemies hit, as well the disruption, while the basic ability will only scale the damage and the energy cost. That's why I like to leave it at a low level, because even if this only does 55 to 77 damage, well, it also does a normal attack, so if you have a nice weapon and a nice shield, then it will scale itself by having better gear. Like, it is almost like Butter, but better, because it stuns, which is very good. Very good. Then in the next row we have Disable. As we said before, these three abilities are quite similar. It is another chance to be used on attack ability, but this time while having more damage, instead of the defensive ability reduction, we have a slower attack for 5 seconds. Now this ability is quite good to decrease enemies' damage, and it can be quite nice, especially if you are not using Butter to decrease enemies' attack, because this can proc independently, automatically attacking, so you don't have to spend the points on Butter to reduce the attack. It is quite nice. Moving on to the next row, we have nothing, so let's move to the next again with Pulverize, and let's end this streak of chance to proc abilities. This one is similar, but also a little bit different, because it can proc and hit multiple enemies. You see, you have at 120 degrees arc of the attack, and it can hit 3 targets at maximum, increasing your damage, and this time, while also having not having a slower attack or reduced defensive ability, this time it reduces enemies' offensive ability for 3 seconds. Reducing this offensive ability and with disable reducing their attack, you can greatly decrease enemies' damage with this from melee, because offensive ability on enemies and on yourself does provide more chance to hit your enemy and to inflict critical hits. So decreasing it on an enemy will provide more damage resistance, basically, because melee attackers will not be able to crit or hit you as often. It does also provide 3 seconds of skill disruption, so again, with the shield charge and special disruption, enemies caster won't be as annoying to deal with. Now, one thing to point out about these abilities is that they are all on hit procs. You can see maxing them out. I don't have any points, but they are all stuck to the maximum of 10 points, which gives a 20% chance to be used. 20 here, 20 here, and 20 here. If you have any kind of other on-hit proc abilities on other masteries, you have to remember that the thing is complicated, but they won't proc as often the more you have. The more abilities like this you have, the worse it is. You can't get 100% special on-hit attack like these effects by having other abilities that also provide a chance to be used. For example, let's see here. We have the hunting. Where is it? Hunting. Warden. Hunting and defense. This is on hit. These 3 are on hit, and there is also volley and gouge. This has 16 and volley has 16 again, so this is 32% chance to proc. Together with the 60% chance of these abilities, you will think you have 92% chance to proc something that is used on hit. But instead it is a little bit lower. The math is complicated, so just remember that they are a little bit worse the more you have. Now let's move on to the other abilities. In this row we only have Colossus form. This is one of the strongest abilities in the game. It has a massive 360 seconds recharge. So this is an ability that will only probably be used on bosses and very, very scary enemies if they are not bosses. What it does is it gives 40% damage absorption, 50% physical damage, 40% strength, health, and a little bit of the reduction in total speed, but the damage absorption, strength, and health will scale with the level. Other stats will not. So let's see it in action. We'll only see it once because the cooldown is massive, but it increases your model scale, and even if the total speed is reduced, your movement speed will be quite high. Now, let's kill some of the enemies. This is, in my opinion, a panic button ability, because it gives a massive amount of survivability with the percent health increase, but most importantly the damage absorption. All damage is going to be reduced by this damage absorption amount, so you are basically unkillable while this is active. Now the duration does not increase, but the duration can be cut short of 24 seconds because the ability does have a 10 active energy cost per second. If your energy is drained while this ability is active and you are left with 0 mana to keep this alive, to keep this active, then the ability will stop before reaching the end of the duration. So keep in mind that having energy resistance, energy leech resistance can be quite good. This also does not give energy drain resistance, so keep that in mind. Since Defense Mastery does not provide any energy, this is an especially painful thing to happen if you do not pay attention to it. Before triggering this ability, just use an energy potion. That's it. And you will solve this problem. This is an ability that completely solves a boss fight. If they are one phase only, you can just face tank anything the boss throws at you and kill it. Since this also does give physical damage and strength, you are mostly going to deal physical damage, so this can also massively increase your damage. Now let's move on to the last two abilities. Of the Atlantis DLC, which does provide the bonus row from 32 to 40, these two are two of the most broken abilities that you can have. First we have Unyielding Phalanx. Let's go to the city and remove some points to see it in action and how it scales. Now, the ability has a 80 seconds recharge, and what it does, it summons some soldiers which are completely unkillable. They are immune to damage, that will attack for you, deal a lot of damage. You can see though in the next level they will not increase their damage, but only the duration they will remain alive will increase. It starts at 10 seconds and goes up to 17. Well, actually it is less, 6 seconds, because I have plus 12 skills. But these guys are crazy strong. You can say that 302 damage and 121 piercing damage is low. These guys do a crazy amount of damage. Let's go to the rats. I hate the rats. In here are quite a lot of enemies. Now these soldiers are unmovable. They cannot move from the starting position. So you can see they are not going to be attacking this enemy because they are out of range. But if you can place this correctly, under a boss's feet, for example, where you are face tanking him with the Colossus form, then they are going to deal the full amount of damage, because they don't need to move, they are already attacking. So this is a boss killer, as well as a Colossus form, but this amount of damage, since they are pets, is going to be greatly increased in epic and the legendary difficulty, since all your summons going from normal to epic and from epic to legendary will receive a bonus in damage, a crazy amount of bonus in damage, to keep up with the harder enemies in the game, since scaling your pets is quite hard. So this ability is fairly strong, very powerful to kill bosses fast. Now this ability, Perfect Block, is completely opposite in use to Unyielding Phalanx. This does only provide damage, but this Perfect Block only provides defense. It is an ability that for a really small duration you can consider it like a parry ability, will reduce your attack speed and casting speed and increase your movement speed, while also providing perfect damage absorption. 100% damage absorption means that any damage you take is going to be nullified. Any kind of damage. We'll see here. Perfect block. Let's move. Now I am taking some damage. If I activate perfect block, for 1 second my health bar will not go down at all. Let's move Deimos for even more. Yes, of course. You need to have shield to use this ability. I'm stupid. Look at my health bar, it does not go down. For just 1 second. It's just enough to get out of danger if you are unsafe. And it also gives... get out of here. It also gives a lot of movement speed, so you can run away faster. Now, augmenting this ability, giving it more points, will reduce the cooldown. And I can say that you can do some pretty nasty shit with this. I saw a build from one guy that having a lot of cooldown reduction, having this ability at the maximum, which reduces the cooldown itself, and having this amulet, let me show you, Holy Symbol of Baal, can get almost 100% uptime on this ability, on this perfect block, considering it only has 1.1 seconds duration. Having 100% uptime is going to be quite hard. And he could only do it because of Holy Symbol of Baal. Now this refresh ability is one that procs on killing enemies, and what it does, it reduces your ability cooldown, while also reducing the cooldown, base cooldown from Holy Symbol of Baal. Now this ability in that build was used with a reflective build. So as I said before, with Stone Form, which also does give 100% damage absorption, you do not need to take the damage to reflect damage, for example with Defiance. You do not need to take the damage. So by having this permanently active, you can keep moving, keep being invulnerable, and enemies will just destroy themselves all the time. And since it is not Stone Form, which prohibits any movement, any casting, any attacking, you can still move and still act, you can say. So quite an interesting build. I have never seen something like that in my life. And you would need very powerful gear and very specific gear to make it work. But once that is going, I saw it in action, it was very, very good. Nothing could kill that build. There was a split second of not having this ability active, because it had 1.1 second duration and I think 1.2 seconds recharge on average, because you still need to keep killing enemies to have that Holy Symbol of Baal refresh. You still need to keep killing enemies. So for endgame dungeons, this build would be amazing. But otherwise, if you are not doing that build, which is insane in my opinion, it is still quite a powerful ability. If you are thinking that an enemy is going to cast a powerful spell, for example Typhon, at the end of Olympus, he casts his meteors, which do a crazy amount of damage. You can completely nullify the damage of the meteors with this ability. Completely safe. You do not even have to move, but since the duration is low, you need to be perfect on your casting. Any misclick and the ability would go on cooldown, and then the meteors would hit you and completely destroy you. So you need to be perfect. Consider it like a parry, as I said before. Now let's go to Delphi for a recap of this build. Now Defense Mastery, as it says here and on the name itself, is quite defensive. You are not going to have that much in terms of damage in here. You are mostly going to attack with your shield, with Butter, Shield Charge, these three proc abilities. There is a lot you need to have defense deal damage, because you need to have a nice weapon and a nice shield, because these all attack with your weapon and the shield. So they do not provide that much damage per se. So starting with another mastery that provides quite a lot of damage numbers on the ability itself, for example Ring of Flame, Volcanic Orb, just 9 points in here and you have already 73 to 108 damage, even more with the basic physical damage. Having 9 points in here at level 10 is going to completely destroy any enemies, even less levels. So early on, some abilities like this that provide damage not based on your weapons will be better. But in the later parts of the game, scaling with your weapons will be your main kinds of damage. Because it is fairly good just buying a weapon or finding a weapon that has some physical scaling, and the base weapon damage will already be insane enough to give this ability the time to shine. But at the early parts of the game, level some other damaging abilities first. Now to level Defense Mastery, what you're gonna do is at level 1, put 1 point in Battle Awareness if you can, if you have the mana, and 1 point in Butter. Then level up as fast as you can until you unlock Rally. This is a fairly good 1-pointer, but don't spend any more points until you get the Shield Charge. You need to have some more damage. Butter is just not enough. Skipping Shield Smash is fine. Armor Handling is fine because you're not gonna need that much strength requirements in the early game. Just the attribute points you will get are enough. And Shield Smash, you need to have a good weapon, good shield. We said this before. Shield Charge, as we said, but most importantly, Rend Armor. You do not see that much area of effect in this mastery, so having other abilities that can cover for that is going to be amazing. This is area of effect, this is area of effect, this does damage in an AoE. Earth Mastery is just very suited to this lack of multiple targets fights. But if you don't, then Rend Armor and Disruption are going to need some points just to have the 3 target maximum and 3 target maximum increase from 1. This is even more. So these are going to be your lifesavers to farm faster. If you are feeling threatened, you can put some points, just 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 4, for starting out, just to have enough secondary resistances to keep yourself safe against combos of centaurs, for example. But in my opinion, one of the abilities that I like to maximize the most is this Inspiration. You can just put 1 point on Rally and don't use it as a potion, but using it as a buff, as a permanent, almost permanent, you can see 26 out of 45 seconds recharge. If you can get some recharge reduction, that would be great. but it's not easy to get in the early part of the game. But maxing out this is going to be fairly long 10% total speed increase. It just helps in doing everything faster. Now later on in the game, you're going to 1 point Colossus form. Just 1 point is enough. You can see I have 5 points in all the abilities that I do not have a need to scale, except for this because I took some points for the showcase. Just because in the later part of the game you're going to have things like this that give plus to all skills, or things like Deimos, plus to all skills. So just putting a point you can get as a value 0.5 levels is going to be quite nice. So Colossus form, just 1 point is enough. This just 1 point is enough. This just 1 point is enough. 1 point everything basically. If you have some other abilities, then you don't need the butter anymore. This is fairly good to traverse distances. But in the later part of the game, you're going to shift from casting. These still do some amount of damage, but not that much. The main kind of damage I do is with my weapon, so these 3 abilities are all at the maximum in my build. And for defense, Battle Awareness is completely insane. This defensive ability is essential to survive. But having a nice shield, in my opinion, is even better. If you can get something like this, quick recovery and focus, it's perfect. You can also get in combination with Rune Mastery. Where is it? Let's show just a shaman. You can get this ability, which is Rune Ward Absorb, which also decreases your shield recovery time even more, which is again quite powerful. Rune and defense, in my opinion. So even more incentives to upgrade your shield. In the end, it is quite a powerful mastery, in my opinion. I do not like to go glass cannon kind of build. I prefer to have lots of defense and just not die. Let's see. You can see I have total death, that's 0. Let's not make it 1 today, but let's showcase a bit the character and how it attacks. Now I have cast all of my abilities. I have cast the Earth Enchantment, Ring of Flame, Heat Shield, Battle Awareness, and we are going to fight some enemies. For example, in Parnassus. I am a bit sad about the lag, but this game is old, there is nothing I can do about that. So this is what this mastery can find, what you can do. This combination is quite strange, in my opinion. I am still focused on dealing the mental damage, even in the late game, just because I found some very nice scalers. My weapon is amazing, of course, and yeah, it is quite a powerful mastery. As you can see, I have put all my points back into these 3 proc abilities because they are amazing. Sadly, it is not very quality of life because I still need to pop the energy potion quite often. So that's what this mastery can do. You just group enemies, kill them all, and yeah, fight continuously. You do not go down easily. An insane amount of armor. I do not have quick recovery active. There is still some lag, but hopefully it is still watchable. That's it. And this is it for Defense Mastery. I hope you enjoyed. And then play Titan Quest.